I'm trying not to be obsessed with the numbers while also coming here and talking to you about stats. So, what does that have to say about my mind? I don't know. Hello, and welcome to a new video. My name is Smriti, and I like to read and I talk about books on this channel in case you did not know. But apart from reading, I also like stats. I studied stats in college for a brief amount of time, and I may or may not be good at maths. I don't know. Sometimes I am not, sometimes I am. Most of the times I am. I like to think I am. Okay, I'm just rambling now. But point is, we are here to talk about the books that I've read in the month of Feb and March. Because guess how many books I read in Feb? I earlier thought it was 0, but actually it's one book. I read one book in the month of February. I know, that's amazing. And in March, I read 6. So that's an improvement, but not good in my books. Because, see, at the end of these 3 months, this quarter, I have read 15 books in total, okay? Which, when I compare it to just myself in the previous years, so in 2021, I had read 33 books by now. In 2022, I had read 42 books by now. So, just like, it's less than half, 1/3 even. So I'm trying not to be obsessed with the numbers while also coming here and talking to you about stats. So what does that have to say about my mind? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I've not really been in a great space, which obviously affects everything else in my life, including my reading. So, well, it's all good. I'm here to talk about the books. So, first, what I'm going to do is talk about the books that I've read in Feb and then March. So, 7 books to talk to you about. And then we will move on to some quarterly stats, just like some fun things that you might want to know about my reading. I have like a huge ass Excel sheet that I keep with like various graphs and bar charts and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I just thought it'd be fun to like tell you about it and then keep myself accountable, because some of these stats I was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Anyway, yeah, let's get to it, and let's start off with my books that I read from the west to the best. Okay. So the first book that I want to talk to you about, which is technically my worst book of Feb and March, is Spadework for a Palace by László Krasznahorkai. I don't know. And this is how you'll see the book name on the cover anyway, and it is translated by John Batki, and it is translated from the Hungarian, and it's this short book that is part of this thing called, I think, the Storybook ND series that I read another book from and really enjoyed. I think it's called The English Understand Wool, and it was one of my favorite books of last year. So I was just like, maybe this series is gonna churn out some great books, so I decided to read this one, and it was, I just think that like I'm not smart enough for it, okay? Like I just like, okay, essentially we are following this guy who is a librarian, and he's been a librarian in the New York Public Library, which is like amazing, and he is like writing in this journal that we are reading, okay? And it's just like ramblings, and he goes on and on about like Herman Melville and like Lois Lowry and like just random people, and like this architect who I became sort of like, I went into his work because it was like kind of futuristic and kind of cool, and like he lived in New York, and like I don't know, I was just like, okay, this guy's cool, but like why am I reading this random tangent about him, and why am I reading about Moby Dick and about like Lois Lowry, the guy who wrote The Giver, and like all of the other stuff? And it was just like weird, and like I get where it was going in the end, but like I was just like, did I enjoy it? It was 94, 97 pages perhaps, but I was just like, I could have just not read this and been fine. You know what I mean? Like that was the sort of book, and I was like, maybe people who really enjoy Herman Melville, etc., would like love this book, you know. And if you are one of those sort of people, then sure, pick it up and like read about a random old man's like ramblings. But like this wasn't for me, so 2 stars. The next book is totally for me, and that is A Treacherous Curse, which I gave a 3.5 star because this is part of the Veronica Speedwell series that I have started reading this year and have been totally obsessed with. Basically, we are following this lady named Veronica Speedwell, who was part of like the Victorian times, essentially. Like, I don't know how many years ago this was, but yeah, like basically she is like this woman who with her partner, like actual partner in work, but like maybe there could be more. This guy called Stoker, they sort of start investigating things, like, so the first 2 books show them like investigate something, and then in the 3rd book there is like something that comes back from Stoker's past, so they start investigating essentially this Egyptian expedition that has come back, and they found this mummy of this young princess of way back when Egypt, like the tomb, like a mummy of her, and they bring it to England, but apparently she's also been carrying this curse, and then like weird things happening, and like there's a person who's disappeared, maybe there is a murder, we don't know. So yeah, I mean, this book was great in terms of like, just like I love Veronica and like Stoker's banter, etc., but this one felt a little low for me. Like the other books I've given like 4.5 stars or 5 stars. This was just like, I wasn't as interested in what was going on, and I wasn't that like invested in the characters per se and like what was happening with like the other side people. So yeah, I was just like a little let down, but it was still a good read, and I do plan to continue with the Veronica Speedwell series because like I just love them. I think that it's so like sweet and nice, and like I finished them quickly, and like it just like a good escape for my brain. Another great escape for the brain is what the next book that I'm going to talk about, which is The Bodyguard. And this was just such a sweet romance. It's basically following this girl named Hannah Brooks, who is a professional bodyguard. Like, she protects people, and it's not just about like, you know, like being a bouncer or whatever. It's about like scoping out the place in advance and making sure that like you understand all the different threats that could possibly come in, etc., etc. And she has to now basically guard this one guy called Jack Stapleton, who I imagined as Chris Evans. As a hottie. So basically he's an actor, and like he is back in his hometown because his mom is unwell, but he doesn't want to get the family worried, so she has to pretend to be like his girlfriend because the bodyguard has to be with him at all points of time. So like they have this fake dating sort of like romance thingy, and I just thought that all the characters were just really like sweet and lovable, and like the interactions felt very like rooted in reality and not just like random shit, you know, and the like the way they reacted to things, etc., felt normal and not like fairy tale. So yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good and just a fun, sweet, maybe predictable, but like I still like really enjoyed it, romance, and I gave it a 4.5 stars. So yeah, I just really liked it. So that was that. Then next, the 2 books that I have read and vlogged, which is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Wait, let me grab them. They were right here on the side. All right, so Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. These 2 chunky chunksters I read in the month of March, and I vlogged them, and they were both really, really good. I really enjoyed my time in these 2 books, which is basically this is a series follow-up or like a tangent of the Grishaverse series, which is basically after the Shadow and Bone series, then is the Six of Crows duology, and this basically is a world where there are people named Grisha who have like magical elemental powers essentially, but there's a place called Ravka, which is where they all sort of exist, and like they are present in other parts of the world here anyway. But yeah, right now we are in a place called Ketterdam, which is sort of like Amsterdam, I guess. I haven't been, so I don't know. So in this we follow like a heist that takes place. So they're going into this somewhat impossible place to like take something or someone from this impossible place, and then here someone is taken, and then they are trying to correct a wrong essentially in this book. So I really enjoyed both of them. I thought that they were excellent reads and super fun, and if you want to check out my thoughts, then you can see the one video that I put up where I talk about both of these books. And yeah, those were that. So that was 4.5 stars and 5 stars. And my last book that I have to talk to you about is Nothing to See Here by Kevin Wilson, and that was another 5-star, and that is the only book that I read in Feb. So yay for Feb for reading only one book, but it was a 5-star book, so haha. But yeah, anyway, Nothing to See Here is a book that I've been wanting to read for a really long time. So it follows this girl called Lillian, who is sort of like figuring out life. She's sort of like just sort of cruising and like doing her own thing and not really like tethered to a place, and she's sort of just like very I related to her very much. Anyway, so she is called by her best friend from school, this girl called Madison, who is like a rich girl who is now engaged or married actually to the governor of some state, and essentially when she goes there she finds out that she wants like her to nanny slash babysit her stepkids who catch fire. It's very weird. Essentially the kids literally catch fire when they are upset or like feel strong emotions or whatever, and like nothing happens to them, but they literally just burst out in flames. And I just thought that this book was really good. It's not necessarily a very like plot heavy sort of thingy. It's just like this girl trying to figure out how to deal with the situation, but also try to like understand these kids. And it's like about like family and friendship and being lost and just wanting to like fit in and be loved. And just like, I don't know, I just really loved these characters and like these people in this book, and I just like really loved it. And in my Goodreads like review, I was like, this might not be for everyone, but this was for me, and that's exactly how I feel. This was just an amazing book. I really loved it, and I gave it a 5-star. And I don't know if I would recommend it to people, but I really loved it. So if you like weird, character heavy, sweet, figuring it out type of stuff, then well, this is a book that you should definitely check out. Now we can move on to the stats part of this video. La da da! Where is stats, bitch? Don't know. Okay, please stop asking me this question. No one has asked, but still. So yeah, a bunch of people also I asked on Instagram if they want to ask me any stats related questions, and they came through. So here are a bunch of things that people have asked for, but also I want to tell you because these are things that I like note down and like keep a track of, you know. So over the last quarter, which is quarter 1, which is Jan, Feb, and March, I read 15 books. So that's 8 books in Jan, 1 book in Feb, and 6 books in March, which is a total of 4,264 pages, which I used to do in 1 month. Okay, but it's fine. It's fine. It's okay. All of them were fiction. So I read 0 non-fiction books, which is totally fine. I read from 9 genres. 4 were from mysteries, thrillers, mysteries mostly. 2 each in literary fiction, fantasy, romance, and short story collections. And 1 each in graphic novel, historical fiction, and magical realism. So that's interesting. Mostly like mysteries is what I read, because honestly that's all my brains could like handle. When I am feeling a little like untethered, I like to read mysteries. It's like a comfort thing. If you grew up with like Nancy Drews and Hardy Boys and Agatha Christie's and John Grisham's, then it's your comfort, all right? Yeah. that's that. From the countries that I read from 6 countries, out of which 10 books were from the US of A, not great, 2 from India, 1 from Austria, 1 from Ireland, and 1 from Hungary, which gets me to the next point, which is absolutely abysmal, which is race, because 80% of the authors that I read were Caucasian. I feel so bad. Yeah. And there were 2 South Asian people and 1 black person, but yeah, not great. I need to, like, obviously I'm going to be rectifying this during the month of April, but also like moving forward. This is great because I was just like, I don't want to be like a person who reads 80% Caucasian like authors. Like, no, thank you. Okay, so moving on. The average book length was mostly between the pages of 250 to 350. You can check out this whole like graph that I have here. Mostly in terms of format, I read from 9 ebooks, because I just like my Kindle, okay, and then 4 paperbacks and 2 hardbacks. Now this is the thing that I really like, okay, the next stat I really like, which is discovered by. So I keep a track of how I discovered these books or got to know about these books. So 46% of them were through BookTube, 20% of them were through Bookstagram, and everything else was equally divided between author, publisher, bookstore, book festival, and a direct recommendation. So clearly, what is the content that I watch or like look at? It's Bookstagram and BookTube. So they are, it's good. It's good that I'm doing such things. Anyway, I added 40 books to my shelves in this period of time, which is problematic but also lesser than before, so that's great. I read 2 books that were new out of these 240 books. 2 of them I read. 4 were on my bookshelf before this year, 2023, and 9 books were borrowed. So I either borrowed it from a friend, or I have a US library that I am subscribed to, because my friend lives there and he doesn't read books, and I was like, just give me the membership. So I have this thing where I can get the ebooks from that library to myself in this country and read them, and it's called Libby. And if you know anyone in the US or Canada or any place that has public libraries and that are good, then you should definitely ask them to get you their free library membership and give it to you, so that you can access all of these free books online through this app called Libby, which is amazing. But yeah, yeah, and then that's it. And then the last thingy is that the cost of reading all of these 15 books was about 2,000 rupees. So that's it for my stats. If you have any other questions about the stats of my reading, the 15 books that I read in the last 3 months, then let me know. I am happy to answer. If you want to see any other stats, or like think that like I don't need to say some stats for next time, that's totally fine as well. That's all for this video, to be honest. I don't know what I'm doing. It's just gonna be a weird day for me. Like, it just started off a bit like strange. Anywho, I'm gonna go, and I hope you all are doing great. Let me know what your favorite book of the quarter has been so far, and if you're not reading or don't know what to comment, you can leave down a book emoji, anything to do with books. Alright, that is all for now. I will see you in my next video. Bye!